Hello, hello.
Hey, Ryan.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Absolutely. We can't see you, and you are welcome to turn your video on or leave it as is. There you are. How are things in your world, Ryan?
Good, good. If you hear a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse in the background, that's by design. I'm daddy daycaring my 3-month-old today. So
Oh, nice.
he just fed and had a clean diaper. So hopefully we'll make it 20-25 minutes here, I think. So anyway,
Well,
that's not a figment of your imagination. If you hear that in the background, that's actually occurring. So
okay, well, that's a good update for sure for us. All right, I see Dr. Brown is joining us as well.
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Brown.
Hi. I don't know. I'm trying to start video.
There we go.
Yes. Hey.
Hello, hello.
oh,
And Dr. Swenson is joining us as well. And then the party can get started. All right.
It better be fun.
Yes.
So
Well, is Dr. Brown, how is work from home and work in general coming along?
I'm back and forth. So
Yeah.
it's good. I think like everybody else, just we all just have to adjust. So that's what we're doing. And
right.
you guys have done a lot to help us do that. So thank you.
Well, oh, absolutely. Well, Dr. Swenson, can you hear us?
Hey,
right.
I can hear you. Unfortunately, I can see you as well, but
that hurts. That hurts.
I hurt for you.
That hurts right there, right there.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the man that the last faculty meeting texted me or chatted with me individually and said, "You've really got a face for radio, but not television." So he had it coming.
I thought that was a compliment. So I will. I guess I had that coming. So I thought about saying something snarky, but
you spoke the truth, huh?
Well, now that the gloves are off. Well, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. And let me tell you how we're going to spend our 30 minutes or less this morning. I know we all come in here with varying varying skill levels as far as course development or even understanding about the process, right? So we want to use this as a time to not only update you on some of the nuances to our process and as we continue to evolve, but to continue to center us and remind us what that process is. Something to consider when our theoretical basis, if you will, for what we do, right? And the scripture I think is pertinent. And I always say this to the students in my class, that I'm sure that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Christ Jesus. Well, we approach this verse differently as a faculty and as a student. A student, depending on what program or where they're at in their coursework, sees this particular course as part of their completion of their calling at Hardin-Simmons. And this course is one small part of that completing their work. Now, you, as you design a new course, become a key and an integral part, a small part, but a key part for this semester that you're going to be designing and teaching this course of their completion, if you will. So what you're doing for Hardin-Simmons, we feel is part of your calling, or you wouldn't be here. So we feel that your work at Hardin-Simmons is part of Christ completing in you your calling to pass on your experience and knowledge creating this class and teaching it. And a student on the other end is carrying out their calling by participating in your course to be equipped for the kingdom, and not only their discipline, but to be formed by you spiritually. So we think it's important to lay the theoretical foundation, but more important to look at the theology behind why we're doing what we're doing. Let me advance our slide and tell you how we'll spend our time today. So Dr. Swenson, have you developed an online course before? Dr. Brown?
Yeah, Scott, I have developed, let me see, 3 online, and I'm in the process of developing the 4th this semester.
Okay. And
And you
Ryan, I
asked-
know.
As I teach it, I'm developing it.
Okay.
You
Dr.
asked
Brown?
me, yeah,
Yes.
well, right. So I was actually in the first group of professors who put their courses online at Hardin-Simmons. It was actually even before you joined us. So it's
Yes.
so much better now than it was, what we were able to do then and now. So I love learning whatever I can about it. But yes, the answer is yes.
Fantastic. And Ryan, I know you've developed quite a few.
Yes,
Yeah, he's
I
our.
don't know. I don't recall the number on the top of my head now, but it's
Right.
several at this point.
Yeah, so we have a historical, we have a numerical, and kind of Dr. Swenson kind of in the middle, different perspectives. And we were talking this morning. If there's any field that doesn't stay still as far as approaches, it's online learning. So this will be a chance for all of us to kind of recenter and get on the same playing field of how it works, what resources you have, and then when does this thing start and end? So you're going to do some work with our office, and when is it over? Because this is still fall, in the middle of fall. So it seems like you're going to teach in the spring, but this thing has a long trajectory. So we'll put some kind of some bookends on that and what it can look like. This is probably something you're familiar with. And this is our theoretical model, right? So if you're going to do research or you're going to do your dissertation, right? We've all familiar with this, right? A theoretical model that you're going to use to approach this. Ours is the community of inquiry, right? Okay, I know what you're thinking, Dr. Swenson. Scott, I know this and could teach it myself, but humor me, we'll go through this again, okay? And ours is based on this theoretical model, the community of inquiry is based on connections from the teacher to the student to the content. What are you trying to teach them, right? How do we get the student to students connected in community? But what I've added to the model is the student to other or student to creator, okay? So this is what our approach is. So we talked about the connection from student to creator, how we're connecting and completing the work God has created in them and in us. But as we design our courses, what we're doing is creating these significant connections. So that's kind of what our theoretical model hangs on. Now, we've created a PDF here. And the first thing that you're going to do, and this is a familiar process now, is you're going to have a kickoff and meet with David. And you're going to go over all the materials. And you'll be getting a copy of this PDF, which has, a little bit further detail about what you're doing, the MOU, some example courses, and things like that for you to look at. David, before I go on, is there anything you wanted to add to this?
Not much to add. I mean, we'll go over it in some detail in our kickoff meeting next week, hopefully. I know that Ryan has gone through this before. It's not going to be all that different, a couple of different steps, but I think that we'll have a little bit more interaction as you go through the course development process. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot, and I think it's going to be a great semester to work on these courses.
Fantastic.
I want to add one thing, Scott, on the
Sure.
slide previous that you said that you added that last component.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And
Oh.
I love it. I could actually feel that when you were talking about it. So it's a perfect
Oh.
way to round that out. You should patent that. It's fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you.
Seriously,
thank you
it's really good. I like it. You said you came
Yes.
up with that, students. I love it.
Well, it's kind of, and I also sometimes do my corny VBS kind of spiel of, and it's true. And I mean, I think it fleshes itself out well at Hardin-Simmons. I mean, we're the cross is central to what we do, and the LMS is at the center of our interaction, and then it's mediated by technology. But if we focus on the cross and this kind of going around the cross, if you will, then we're sure to have a balanced course and not leave out the most important thing, and that's connecting
Exactly.
students to our creative.
Yeah, love it. What they go and do. I just love it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Scott,
Thank you. I
is that,
appreciate that.
Scott, is that bottom right? Are you promoting Buddhist meditation? If so, we're a Christian university, and I I raise an issue with
Lighten
that.
up, John Eric.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is, John, with someone who is easily agitated by visuals and an affront to their spirituality, sometimes Buddhist practices can augment a release of that. But you know, but it's funny that you mention that, because I teach for a professional development company, and while I don't, when I teach professionally, teach this from a Christian perspective, I use the other, and then I say, I'm from a faith-based university, and for us, that other is Christianity, blah, blah, blah. So it's a way to kind of wedge in Christianity, but being inclusive of all people's spirituality.
I'm
So,
obviously joking. I do think there's some value to Buddhist practices. I'm just messing with you.
oh, I know, absolutely. And
I
I'm
never
messing
even
right back.
questioned it. I just automatically assumed he was doing centering prayer.
Yeah. Thank you, David. So, John, I think you're being what they call ganged up on. So
We'll move on.
so, and you all will be getting a copy of this from developing your course. It's the MOU, and it has changed a little bit, but incrementally, just, you know, how policy page numbers change and things as such. And one thing to note is, Ryan, and you all develop great courses, but one thing that we want to point out is, for faculty in general, is that sometimes life happens. You know, life isn't always in the contract, but it's assumed, right? But sometimes we may get to the beginning of the semester and not have some of those last parts or weeks fleshed out yet. And we just want you to know that we understand, and that's okay. There are certain key components that are kind of non-negotiables, and David will walk through those. But we've added in, I guess you can say, an element of grace, because we know there are times when it's all we can do to show up to class, right? And take a few deep breaths and get after it. We know sometimes from an online perspective that sometimes it's all we can do to just kind of show up and have everything in place, but still have some work on the back end to get done. So we just want you to know that there is grace involved here, and in the MOU. Now, according to our policies, and I don't think this applies to any of you, but we do our online teaching certification. So if this would apply to anyone that we would be talking to, we would just ask you to go ahead and sign up for that. Now, one thing that we have added, kind of a micro addition here, is just like David said, he will link up with you most likely next week and kind of kick this process off. But sometime November, late, early December, most likely early December-ish, we'll kind of pull you back individually. So it would be me, David, and, you know, John Eric. We'd say, hey, John Eric, kind of show us what you've got, you know, almost like the end of the semester, development semester, just kind of seeing where you're at. So we could kind of get a feel for, between the beginning of December and in mid-January, when the course kicks off, what heavy lifting you still need to do and how we can support you, and how primarily David can work with you to ensure that the key components are ready. So, and like I said, sometimes, you know, things, trains go off the track. And if your train is off the track, we want you to know that we're here to help. And if it's not off the track, which I don't anticipate it, but it can be, and that's fine. We also want to let you know that, hey, we want to take time to look at what you've done and say, virtual high five, great work, and we're on track.
Scott, while you've got that calendar up, can I just ask a quick question?
Please.
Do you have any idea of when the spring courses will be in Canvas?
Great question. We've, as you can imagine, we've been getting that, and soon. And let me tell you how the chipmunks work behind the screen on that. Normally they're up by now, but Tech Services is working with a company called Illusion, and essentially they're merging softwares right now. And what that means, and here's where it's good. You know how, like, at the end of the semester, you get your grades and then you have to go back into student services, or that, and we have to go in and manually enter our grades. Well, they're syncing that up with Illusion, so it will go directly into Colleague now. So all that's been eliminated. However, it didn't go according to plan. They had hoped to get this done over the summer, but as you can imagine, sometimes you get two technologies together and they don't want to play well. So it is on their radar. They are working on it. And what we got from Cameron out of Tech Services was that it could be a few weeks. However, David, why don't you tell them what your plan B is at the interim?
So if this goes on for 3 or 4 more weeks, we'll just create sandbox courses for you to begin the development in. It won't be a impediment to us. And really those first couple of weeks will be focused more on the course design rather than the development. Design is going to be on paper. We're planning out things. We're working on learning objectives and alignment. And then the development is actually the work in Canvas. So if you ever hear me use those two terms, I don't use them interchangeably. I am speaking about different processes. So one is the planning and one is the building. Or we could even say that one is the blueprint and one is actually building the house.
Yes, but it is a little nerve-wracking because typically they're there already. And somebody asked me that question, and I just assumed they were there. And then I looked and didn't see mine and got a little nervous. So we made a phone call. But one thing you can, and we always try to have a plan B,
Yeah,
like David said.
sounds like you got one. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure. So now on into the design. You don't think that the design of the course matters, but it really does. Here's an email I got from one of my doc students. Now, don't be overly impressed. I get quite a few on the other end of Dr. Ham, get it in gear or this or that. But I thought this was impactful because she's not talking about, hey, great job teaching in class. She's saying, thank you for creating an engaging class, student to student, teacher to student, right? And she's saying, I appreciate the opportunity to learn about the structure and format you created. So students notice when a course is designed well and it's made to engage them. And as David alluded to, there is a difference in teaching activity and course content, right? So we're creating a course, but you are the one teaching it, right? And your personality will, and a well-designed course sets up students for a fantastic experience. And here's something that you all embody quite well, but this is something that we think is important for all our faculty to know. One of the terminologies in our field, I don't know what they are in criminal justice or psychology, right? But in our field, UX is a common term, and that's the user experience, right? And that's where you look at the learner and understand what they need and how to promote quality of their interaction with the service or product, which would be Canvas, and accessing their learning materials, if you will, right? So when we use our template in Canvas, the reason that we adhere to that pretty closely is there's been a lot of research done and a lot of research done within the Canvas system of what is the best template? What does student and student testing and research say works best with them? Now, we did this with our faculty and students probably 2 years ago. We brought them into our office and we looked at the Canvas template, and then we looked at just individual courses we created that were different or other professors used, not using their name, and said, what is easier for you to navigate, this or that? What is easier for you to understand about what to do next, this or that? And it corroborated everything that we have here. And this is an example of the template that David will give you. So if I'm a student and I go into my module, I understand that module 1 is an introduction. I can understand where to see what the module's about, what the dates are. I know where my overview is, and I know what's a video, what I need to read, what I'm going to be doing. So if that's consistent, the student's effort then is made on learning, not figuring out, well, what does Scott Ham do in his class? Does he call it an assignment or a quiz, or where do I find this? Does he keep his files over here? It focuses on the learning. Now, this is a color sheet. I don't know if y'all have remember these, right? John Eric, I imagine you probably were using these close to your junior or senior year in high school. However, what you get in a color sheet is, we used to have this during busy time, right? When you finished your work, Miss Davis would walk around with a ruler, and while we would color, right? And me, I started coloring outside the lines and whack, got a big old whack on the hand, right? Because she said it's a coloring sheet. Can't you see the lines? So she wanted me to color inside the lines. So in a sense, with a template, it's kind of like, wait a minute, am I being asked to color inside the lines? Because there's a time for coloring outside the lines and creativity, just not in the template. But when you link in the template, that's where the creativity comes in, right? You can have some awesome, engaging assignments, but the only thing we're eliminating is the student's journey to get there, right? That's all. So when we ask you to use the templates and color inside the lines, we're not asking you to limit your creativity. As a matter of fact, we're freeing you up to really use your wisdom and knowledge and creativity and your discipline to have at it. Now, here is just a little bit of where a little bit of a quiz will come in. Grand Canyon University did a large study with 5,000 plus students. That's a pretty large N if you're doing research, right? And they asked the students, what do you think helps your learning? And interestingly enough, they put detailed feedback on discussion forums, detailed feedback on assignments, participation in online discussion forums, and then outlines, overviews, visual structures. So a common thread that comes out of this is discussion and feedback and input from the instructor. Interesting. Now I'm going to do the old, there is a right and wrong answer, and he's going to ask me because I'll probably get the wrong answer kind of vibe. But what do you think, and how this compares to what faculty thinks helps student learning based on these criteria on the left? What do you think faculty said when asked this same question? What do you think is most important out of all these things on the left?
I'm going to say something related to, out of that list, Scott, I was thinking it could even be something different. I was
color
gonna
inside
say,
the lines, inside the lines.
Well, I think faculty availability, and that probably relates to maybe those top three, right? I mean, that kind of gets them related to faculty availability, I think, is really, really important. I've talked to David a lot about this, and one of my challenges is I've got 60 students in one online class right now. There's two sections, so I combine the sections, and so it makes it and then I've got 30 students in another online class, so that makes a total of, what is it? I'm having a hard time adding 90 students. Okay, my brain's not working very well. But one of the problems that's so difficult is providing meaningful feedback to 90 students, right? And so it's almost like I kind of create this template of common statements that I make that I can cut and paste. But I feel guilty about that. I mean, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I mean, I want to address each student as if I'm taking a question in the classroom and can spend, 5 minutes really expounding on what they've asked, and say, great question. And let's think about this. And what do the rest of you think about that? But man, I just can't. I mean, it's just too much,
Yeah, and that's kind of fun to do in a classroom too.
Yes, absolutely.
It makes you feel good about the students learning. And the big difference is with the online classroom is that you're getting 54 of your students are asking questions.
Right.
And sometimes the answers are going to be the same, but I think to me that's an advantage of the online classroom, is that the students are more willing to contact the teacher about something they're confused about than they are in a face-to-face class where they have the communication apprehension.
Right.
Yeah, and you can, and that's a good point. And I don't feel guilty about making those common comments because there is no nobility in just repeating the same thing, keyboarding it. However, what you can do is you can create a grid of your 30 students for each course, right? And it doesn't have to be a complicated grid, but you can make it a point to make sure that at least once or twice during the semester or 3 times, you give each student a little more personal feedback, right?
Right.
So you
Yes,
could do,
and I do that, Scott. I try to.
sure.
And guys, I'm so sorry. If I look distracted here, so I monitor my son's type 1 diabetes through my phone, and his blood sugar is like,
Ah,
and so
yeah.
and we're all in quarantine, my son, and my youngest son. And so my wife's at work. And so I'm trying to say, hey, buddy, eat some fruit snacks real quick.
Yeah, no
So
worries.
that's what I'm doing. So that's what I'm looking over here. I'm trying to listen over here. So, but yeah, yeah, Scott, and I do try to do that. Try to make some meaningful feedback to each student, at least some throughout the semester, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's certainly something. There are some tips and tricks along the way that, you know, we can pass on for sure.
And by the way, David, I'm so sorry I've not shown up for the online deals. I missed one because I forgot the little deal that Jason King's leading. And then we went into quarantine and my life has been like insane.
It's okay. The book group is a bonus. I mean, reading
Yeah.
the book is the real.
So at any rate,
real place to
Well,
go.
you're doing the real work right now, and there's always time for, there's always time when it's time. But in this particular study, faculty, a smaller N there, responded that they felt that students wanted videos and websites and summaries and things like that, almost diametrically opposed to what students really said was meaningful. So one thing to keep in mind is as you are working on your pedagogy, you're going to have a great course, but you also want to have in mind that grading and feedback, email, and discussion facilitation is, if you will, the lion's share of students and faculty interaction. And you want to make sure that you are good at that. And that's something I always tell faculty is that if a student emails you and asks you a question, and you know, you may be thinking, man, I got to respond to this student, but I got to get back to the class. No, you're in class when you're sending an email, because students in various research projects always point out that faculty emailing them, the response rate and the content of that email is really important to a student. And that is part of the teaching. Well, okay, what's next? You're going to get an email from David about a Zoom session, and you're going to go over the PDF and kick this off. And my last admonition to you, I don't know if you're into this or not, but in a world full of 10s, be an 11. I don't know if you watch Stranger Things, but I did. But that's my thing, is creating a good course, knowing how to teach it effectively will make that course stand out for you, stand out for the students. And it is what we do at Hardin-Simmons by forming students along the way. So if y'all don't mind if I pray us out, and then we'll entertain any questions that may still be lingering before we go. Lord, thank you for our time together. Thank you for Karen and John Eric and Ryan and David. Thank you for the opportunity now to develop these courses and start thinking and praying for the students in the spring that we'll have in them. Appreciate the opportunity to be part of the Hardin-Simmons family and have the opportunity we have before us. It's in your son's name that we pray. Amen. Any last minute questions that we need to address before we go? John Eric,
One
any
question
last?
that I had,
Yes.
Scott, and this may be for David as well, but just whoever feels better responding. What should I be planning on having prepared for your last slide, the Zoom meeting with David? Because this is where I'm at with the 2 online spring courses. I've got the syllabus or syllabi for both completed, learning objectives hammered out. I've already sent those to Karen for course development stuff, for departmental stuff. I just want to be sure that I'm not behind or B, that I'm not expected to have certain things that I'm not able to do yet because the course is not in Canvas yet. And a big part of my process is once the course is available to me in Canvas, it's pretty straightforward in my mind. But I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't not prepared for what David and I are going to discuss. I hope that makes sense. I'm just trying to be sure that we're
Yeah,
prepared.
from what it sounds like, you're ahead. You're not
Okay.
behind.
Okay.
So yeah, bring the syllabus and whatever materials, and we'll kind of push and pull on learning objectives and see if there's a way to refine them, and
Okay.
how to demonstrate alignment, how to communicate all that to students so that they can understand
Okay.
how this map fits together, that they're using, to kind of learn the geography of the field,
Okay.
and so that they can get the big picture, or at least get a glimpse of the big picture as they take that deeper dive, see how
Okay.
that fits into it all.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, David.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a pitch. You know how you guys create, and I guess I just learned that Chastity could also create those, but our exit courses, our MSCJ exit courses, could we possibly just create, like you said, to start building those templates and then move it over to when the course actually populates in Canvas, the two that Ryan's going to be teaching in the spring? As a full-time peace officer in the state of Texas, I just, as much time as we could possibly give him to do the work that he does for us while he also does so much other. So if there's, could Chastity build a couple of courses that he could start generating all of those pieces and then just move it over when it's available? Is that, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we could get that done today, really.
Yeah.
That'd be fine. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll just call it template. I mean, we'll just call it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
I
CC you
usually call
guys
mine.
and then-
I usually call mine a sandbox or a playground.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
But I used to
Okay.
teach early childhood, so that's meaningful to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I
we'll get
like-
those built. Thank you. Go ahead.
I like a name, Ryan's Den, maybe the Ryan's Den or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, absolutely. John Eric, man, I hope quarantine continues to go well. And
Yeah, I'll be back next week. So my wife, it's odd, those infected get to go back before you do that have been exposed,
yeah,
So, yeah, fortunately my wife and son are doing well, and my wife went back to work. Son gets to go back to school tomorrow, and I'll be back hopefully next week. So, hey, Ryan, you're a game warden, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, and you've been on Lone Star Justice, right? The show.
The Lone Star Law Show, I was on there for about 33 seconds one day,
Really?
and I was like an addendum to the superstar game warden that I just got to work with in Potter County in Amarillo. But yeah, so like 33 seconds worth. You have to pay attention really fast. You'll miss it on the DVR if you don't pay attention.
Oh man, that is my favorite show and my kids'
good.
favorite show. We watch that a lot. So get tickled at some of the stuff.
Have I told you, Ryan, that when I was in high school, I thought that being a game warden is probably what I wanted to do with my life?
Very good.
It's
I
not
didn't- I
too
didn't-
late, David.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, we're taking
There's-
applications right now. Go ahead.
There's too much methamphetamine I'd have to deal with these days.
Yeah, that's pretty regular. Yeah.
yeah, man.
John Eric, when we bring Professor Warden Hunter down for a presentation, I'll let you know. Maybe your kids want to come and ask him questions and meet him.
Oh yeah, well hey,
Might be kind of fun. Yeah.
my family, we're landowners, so we're always in contact with the game warden, saying, please come out here and get these people off of us. They're hunting on us. So yeah, Lacey Loudermilk is a very good family friend.
Okay. He's
He's a good guy, very good guy.
Yep.
He's a good fella. He's a close family friend.
Well, that's awesome. Well, enjoyed the time. Appreciate y'all making time. I know how busy y'all are, and we're looking forward to developing courses with you this semester. And
Thank you, Scott. Thank you,
Thank you.
David.
Thank you.
Y'all
Thank
have a
y'all.
great day, y'all.
See you
Thanks,
soon.
y'all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.